All right, so we're doing cover letters. All right, a cover letter is your formal introduction. The first read it can make or break your entry. Okay, so this is going to be sent with your resume. This is just to get a little background on you and learn more about you. All right, like I said, you're going to send it with your resume. Um, Even if if they're just asking you to email them your resume, you're still going to want to put your cover letter in the email. Okay, always bring the cover letter with it. Your goal is to get an interview, just like the resume. It should be brief and interesting. Should not be a carbon copy. Should highlight what you'll bring to the job. Should be versatile, suitable for several jobs. Should never be sent in form letter style. Okay, so it's going to be brief. All right, it's going to be to the point. It's not a five-paragraph essay. Like we talked about with the resume, you're not going to have a lot of time. It is similar to your resume, but it's not going to be the same. Okay, so this is going to be kind of um, how your resume, how the information on there is going to make you a great candidate for the job for this specific job opening. Okay, so you're taking what you've done in the past and you're telling them what you can do in the future. That's kind of the idea of a cover letter. Okay, so this is the format. This is what it should look like. Um, you have your address, you have their address, opening paragraph, middle, closing. Only three paragraphs should be quick and to the point, okay? And we'll talk about the things that should be in each paragraph, but definitely use this picture um, as a reference for when you do this, okay? Because it has good information in there. So the length, paragraphs in a cover letter should be between 3 and 6 sentences, concise. Like we said, this is going to be short. Okay, they're only going to be looking at this for a short amount of time. Um, they want to see that you are interested in the position enough to write this cover letter. They want to know how your resume is going to affect your job and your performance there, and why you're a good candidate. But it has to be short. It has to be to the point. So you got the four sections: the heading, opening, middle, and closing paragraphs. All right, the heading will be like the one example: your information, their information, dear Mr., Mrs., so and so, dear admissions, dear whoever. Okay. The opening paragraph, that's going to be why you're writing the letter. So obviously, you're going to state that you're interested in a position, that you heard it's a great company to work for. You want to talk. You want to talk about how you're excited, that the job opening excited you. Okay. Explain what position you are applying for. If you do not state which position you are applying for, they probably will not know. So it's very important that you state exactly what position you are applying for. Okay. They could have, most jobs have multiple positions available. So you have to be very specific that you are applying for this position at your company. If necessary, how you heard the position. Name dropping is great for companies. Okay, if they know that you know someone there, you're tight with someone there, someone is in your family that works there, they will be able to talk to them about it, or the person who works there could say, "Hey, did you see this person's resume? Did you see what they sent you?" So you definitely want to name drop and say that, if that's an option. If not, you can just tell them, you heard about the position through word of mouth, online, something like that. Um, Human resource wise, which we'll talk about in a little bit, companies will like to hear how you heard about the position either way. But definitely a great time to name drop. The middle paragraphs, this is where you're going to talk about your strengths. Okay, you're going to tell them why you're going to be a great candidate. Again, you're going to talk, we're not going to tell them exactly what we did at our other job, but from my other job, I would translate this over to your company. I manage things there, and I can do the same thing here. I've, you know, supervised 50 people. So I feel like I could be a strong supervisor of 30 people, like you need, something like that. You want to talk about the stuff you want to touch on the stuff on the resume, and you want to tell refer back to it, but you are not just repeating what is on the resume. Like I said, you're taking the information on the resume and you're telling them how this is going to help your company, why this is a good idea. Okay, use examples, be specific. Use specific examples from your work. You know, um, I worked on a project at my last job with digital marketing. I believe that I could be an asset to your team with the digital marketing skills I use um, to complete the project for so and so. Okay, so you want to be specific in your examples. You definitely want to give an example of how what you did in your last job will help you with this one, or what you did in school will help you here. But remember to stay positive, and you really want to talk about your strength. There's no in your cover letter. You should not say anything that doesn't make you sound fantastic. All right, so the closing paragraph, this one's going to be short. You're going to thank the reader. You're going to ask what the next step in the process is. The reason you do this is so that you can have kind of a timetable as to what's going on. You know, is this going to be one round of interviews? Is it going to be more? Also, what you're going to do with this is then you'll have an idea of how long of a process this is going to be, and it gives them a reason to get back in touch with you, which follows up the next one: request an interview. Obviously, the goal of the cover letter and the resume is to get an interview, so you're going to ask for an interview, that you're interested in the position, blah blah blah. Okay, so you're going to ask, when when would be a good time to interview, or when should expect to hear from you? That's always a good way to end the cover letter. When should I expect to hear from you, or what are the next steps? You want to give them something where they have to respond. Okay, so by getting a response, you should be able to hear back, hopefully, and find out, when the interview is. If you get an interview, if you don't get an interview, either way, you ask for some kind of response. Obviously, you also want to be polite. You want to be polite throughout the whole thing, even when you're talking about in the middle paragraph, when you're talking about your strengths. You don't want to sound arrogant. Okay, you want to sound confident. You want to sound like you're good at what you're doing, but you don't want to sound arrogant. You want to be polite. So, 10 tips to create the right impression. You want to gear the letter for the specific job opening. Okay, so they don't want just one generic cover letter that they send to every company. Okay, they're going to be able to tell. So, you know, um, if you're applying for a bank teller position, you want to gear it towards that. Okay, instead of a job that you're a cashier. It's going to be two different kind of cover letters, two different openings. Okay, you can't use the same kind of skills and things like that. Describe your related skills, which just talks about it. You want to make sure that you explain how what you did at your last job, or what you've done in the past, is going to how that's going to affect your work there, or how you're going to be successful in your work at the new job. Make it personal. Like I said, you want to use the company's name. You want to use a specific position. Um, you know, have contact information, know who you're sending it to. Create a catchy opener. Okay, so they're going to read a lot of these. So if you have something that's interesting to them, then maybe they'll keep reading. Okay, you're going to want to explain why you're the best for the job. Obviously, you want to make it very easy for them to know how to contact you. Okay, you don't want to hide this information. Make sure it's all accurate. Make sure your phone number is right, the address is right, everything like that. Type and proofread. Like, before you get this is how you're going to get an interview. If you have spelling errors, if you have grammar errors, if you have anything like that, this is going to be a bad look for you. Okay, if you can't concentrate enough and pay attention in detail enough on your cover letter, are you going to be any good at your job? Okay, if you're not going to be careful and be detail oriented now, you're not going to be detail oriented at work. Okay. Um, Like I said, we want to keep it brief, keep it short. Okay, action words, same kind of thing as the resume. Be confident, creative, enthusiastic. Okay, they're going to read a lot of these. All right, so you really have to make yourself stand out. What makes you special? What makes you different than everybody else? Keep copies so that you know who you sent it to. I mean, via email now, it'll keep a copy for you in the sent folder, but you want to make sure that you don't send someone, 4 cover letters because you keep forgetting you send them to them. Okay. Um, Also, and then lastly, like we said, request a response. So you want to make sure that you have them having to give you an answer or be in touch with you. Okay. You don't want to just wait on them. You want to kind of be proactive and ask, when should I expect to hear back from you? What's the next step in the interview process? Anything like that.